This year is the 39th year of ROCLA's existence, a Committee on Latin America. It's an absolutely wonderful organization. It started in 1973 when the U.S.-backed coup d'etat against President Salvador Allende occurred, and President Allende was killed in the awful world that followed what happened in Chile. And a number of people here in Rochester got together after that and said that something had to be done to wake the world up to what's going on below our borders. And for the 39 years since, the Committee on Latin America has been a steady, stalwart organization that provides both education, fundraising, material aid, spiritual, and other kinds of moral aid, and has just been a great organization. And this year, this event is the annual big event for the, and over the years times have changed a bit. I just read something recently that Rios Mott of Guatemala is now under investigation and under possible persecution. And he's being either indicted or followed and going to be prosecuted. And he was the president that was, the dictator that oversaw some of the most horrendous savage assassinations and genocide that occurred in Guatemala in the late middle 80s. So the tides have turned a bit, and things are looking somewhat differently now. So ROCLA's been here through all that. So excuse my extra few minutes, but ROCLA's been dear to my heart for all these years, and I just wanted to give a shout out to ROCLA itself.
It's my honor to introduce to you Baba Marilyn Kaiser. And one criteria that I always employ on the steering committee at ROCLA to select the White Dove Award winner each year is this. Has this person or persons or group made a positive difference in the world? Is the world a better place because of him or her? There can be no doubt that this year's recipients have indeed made the world a better place because of their work in the community at large. I first met the Kaisers when Bob was a pastor out at Gates Presbyterian Church. Bob would always arrive early on a Sunday morning, very early, and I would be the next one in. And rarely did I ever beat him into the church on Sunday. But upon entering, I would always make my presence known by yelling down the hallway, "Hola, Pastore!" And then you'd hear this moan and he'd say, "Hola, Tomas." So in my opinion, I think Bob should be granted sainthood tonight for putting up with me for so many years. And when Bob retired 13 or 14 years ago, that was when he really started to go to work full time. Bob and Marilyn have served a total of about 10 to 12 churches in that time, each one was going through a transition or in some cases very stressful and difficult situations. Here is some unsolicited testimony I received recently about Bob. When Bob came to our church, it was truly in a crisis and it was so divisive. Yet Bob came in and he was able to make people come together. He is a healer, and he also brings the best out of people in the church, utilizing their distinct skills to work in areas where they can make a difference. My sense is that he has accomplished this healing at numerous churches, and by doing so, has impacted so many people and church communities in Western New York. I know he also works feverishly for ROCLA, and his entire life is reflected in how he treats others and truly cares for people. I'm so happy to hear that Bob and Marilyn are receiving this prestigious award. And Marilyn. Marilyn works very quietly in the background, and she has been our main organizer to keep on our records and memberships in ROCLA. She's always present and always interested in the organization and in you as an individual. Marilyn loves to explore the world, as long as she doesn't have to go by plane. She is steadfast and loyal to everyone and everything she does. She never wavers. And Bob and Marilyn have 4 wonderful children and a bunch of grandchildren now as well. And their daughter Bryce is here with us tonight. Bob and Marilyn are both very unassuming, they're very humble, and I'm sure that they're embarrassed somewhat by receiving this award tonight, because they do not like to be in the limelight. So without further ado, I am honored and so very pleased to present this year's White Dove Award to my very, very good friends and our very, very good friends, Bob and Marilyn Kaiser, and recognizing their outstanding achievements on behalf of the people of Latin America, our local community, and beyond. Bob and Marilyn.
Long line of White Dove recipients, but more than that, I think I feel inspired by the people who are here tonight, all of whom should be getting an award for the good work they do in so many ways to make our world a better place. ROCLA is a great group, and I thank them for this award. But they even put up, made the post office people be okay when we bought our mailings. So, thank you very much, and especially to our friends and neighbors who've come out to celebrate with us tonight.
So I always worry when Tom Ward introduces anything. I do appreciate his comments.
I always worry that you're going to give me a sermon.
I always worry that you listen. But just to pick up on what Marilyn said, one of the things that does inspire and really encourage me is to look around the room and see how much all of you hung in there. I know it's not easy. Obama isn't all you hope for. What's the alternative isn't very good either. But some of you have really stuck there. I think of Peter Mott's been pushing for a single-payer healthcare system forever and ever, ever. Harry Murray wasn't sure he could come here because he wasn't sure he's going to be out of jail for his latest protest. And Arnie Matlin has been in Nicaragua so many times since the revolution, and so that's really inspiring us. And all of you, I know it's not an easy time, and you got a lot of reasons for being discouraged, but another person who hung in there, Pete Seeger, once said, and I'll try to update this because he wouldn't want it to be men right now, but one person's hands can tear a prison down, one person's hands can't tear a prison down, 2 people's hands can't tear a prison down. But if 2 and 2 and 50 make a million, we'll see that day come around. We'll see that day come around. 1 person's strength can't set the people free. 2 people's strength can't set the people free. But if 2 and 2 and 50 make a million, we'll see that day come around. We'll see that day come around. And then from someone who has cancer, they wrote, of all the forces that make for a better world, none is so powerful as hope. With hope, one can think, one can work, one can dream. If you have hope, we can do everything. Thank you very much.
Despite everything that's happened to Haiti, one thing is clear to me from observing both their political and personal struggles over the last 14 years. Haitians are a people of hope. There's a proverb that says, "Way pa way, not bats." This can be loosely translated as, whether it's apparent or not, we're still fighting. Under democracy, dictatorship, or occupation, with international aid or without it, I believe that Haitians are going to keep pushing forward towards justice and love. So tonight, we're here to recognize and celebrate Brian Concannon Jr. and his colleagues at the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti and the Bureau d'Avocat International. They follow the seemingly unpopular idea that all people, even Haitians, should be treated equally and with dignity and respect, even when they suffer a devastating earthquake with unprecedented levels of destruction, even when they take opposing views from powerful countries' international politics, even when they arrive here on the U.S. soil looking for sanctuary. Some of you here tonight may also subscribe to these radical views. I see you out there. The IJDH and the BAI are the head, heart, hands, and feet of these ideas that work for justice. Brian Concannon is a lawyer who founded IJDH in 2004, just when Haiti should have been celebrating 200 years as an independent country. I remember leaving Haiti at the end of summer 2003 when the mood was light and full of excitement about the coming bicentennial. Things were looking up for a change. Roads were being paved, parks were being refurbished, people were planning for the future, proudly and with heart. Instead of celebrating, though, in 2004, Haiti was suffering under a coup d'etat that would never have been able to happen without covert international support in terms of training, arms, and wickedly dishonest reporting in the media. I was heartbroken in February 2004 when President Aristide was taken away, kidnapped. That was 2 leap years ago, this last leap year. And it was leap year so that there would be no anniversary for people to protest. I'm thankful that the IJDH was there, and to quote from their mission statement, to support those in the nonviolent struggle for consolidation of constitutional democracy, justice, and human rights in Haiti. Before IJDH, Brian Concannon was also the director of BAI until 2004. Together, these two organizations have worked on countless human rights cases, many of them groundbreaking, setting precedents for the pursuit of human rights around the world. They pushed the justice system to investigate assassinations and disappearances, such as the murder of journalist Jean-Dominique and the disappearance of activist Pierre Levinsky-Antoine in August 2007, while he was actually in the middle of leading an international human rights delegation. They represented political prisoners after the coup, former Prime Minister Yvonne Neptune, who was imprisoned for 2 years without charges, Father Jean Just, an inspirational Roman Catholic priest who opposed the coup and was arrested on false charges, and musician So-Ann, who was arrested by a military-style invasion by U.S. Special Forces. She was 69 years old and had children with her at the time, for possessing information that could pose a threat to the U.S. troops. And you've been hearing some of So-Ann's music tonight in the background. They pushed for prosecution of human rights abusers, such as former dictator Jean-Claude Duvalier, who recently returned to Haiti. Brian also helped prepare the prosecution for the Robotio massacre trial in 2000, which was successful. They've worked on larger scale cases that affect all Haitians, including debt cancellation, restitution of fees paid to France after independence, the housing rights of those living in the internally displaced persons camps in Port-au-Prince, and the recent call for the UN to take responsibility for cholera, just to name a few. And I expect that Brian will give us some more details about these projects in a few moments. I haven't had the honor of meeting Brian before tonight, but I do know some of those who have been aided by his work, by IJDH and BAI, as well as other people that are on their boards. I always stood in awe of their fearless bravery and relentless pursuit of justice. So let us welcome and honor Brian, IJDH, and BAI for their work shining the spotlight of truth on injustices so that we all might see and then join in the act.
Thanks for that kind introduction, and thank you to Peter and Gail for hosting me, and to ROCLA for inviting me. It's really great to be here, and for a lot of reasons I'll get into later on why I think groups like ROCLA are so important to people like our clients in Haiti and like people in Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala. But it's a pleasure, it's a great honor to receive the White Dove Award. And I'm also really excited that ROCLA chose not to give it to an individual, but to the staff and volunteers of the Institute for Justice and Democracy and the Bureau des Avocats Internationaux in Haiti. And I'm really excited about that for three main reasons. But I think that we're kind of conditioned in the United States to think that the answer to problems is one person trying really hard, when that in fact has never been the answer to social problems. And so it's great. I'm excited for that reason that ROCLA chose to choose an organization. I'm also excited because it's recognition of some very courageous and dedicated people that I've had the honor to work with over the last 17 years. And the third reason is that I think that this is it's a great boost to our team in Haiti. They're really excited about hearing this, and it's only going to make them work harder and do more for justice for Haiti's poor. I'd like to talk a little bit about our work and a little bit about how our work in human rights comes back to tie into our concerns here in the United States. And it's certainly not news to anybody in this room that although many of the roots of Haiti's desperate problems lie in Haiti, a lot of the roots go north under the sea and come up closer to Washington and New York, as well as Paris and Ottawa and London and lots of other places. And so that's why I titled my talk, The International Community Human Rights in Haiti. I think it's impossible to talk about one without the other. Can you get the next slide? Just the three things that we do at the BAI and IJDH. As Sarah mentioned, we try to build the rule of law in Haiti, and it's something like the rule of law is going to help everybody. And one of the problems you're seeing is even the wealthy people are having a big problem because they can't invest because no one knows who owns the land. And it's actually a problem for outside investors coming into Haiti because the existing business people have a great home field advantage because they know how to navigate a very corrupt system. And so it's something that will benefit investment, benefit the wealthy, but our main interest is the poor, because when you have a corrupt justice system, people who are able to pay for more justice get more justice, and people who can't pay for justice get injustice. And so we really see our work as evening the playing field so that the poor can benefit from the rule of law. And as part of that, we try to give people their day in court. Haiti's justice system has evolved over 3 centuries of dictatorship to serve the dictatorship. So Haiti's justice system serves those who have the guns and the money, and Haiti's poor have neither. And so we're trying to open the courthouse doors so they get a fair shake at justice. And the third thing we do is try to bring Haitians' fight for justice to the international community. And that's really why I'm in the United States. I love living in Haiti. I lived there for 9 years. But when, as Sarah mentioned, there was a coup d'etat and President Aristide was kidnapped by a U.S. plane, one of the planes that had been used in the so-called war on terror to render torture suspects illegally to places, or to render suspects to places where they get tortured. That was diverted from that task, flew a false flight plan, picked up Haiti's president, filed another false flight plan, and then took him to the Central African Republic. And we had done a lot of work in our office, but more importantly, the Haitian people had done a lot of work over 10 years to establish democracy, to get the justice system to work, to where we could do things like the Roberto case that Sarah mentioned. All that progress was immediately thrown out the door because our president didn't like their president's economic policy. And when that happened, I realized that my place was no longer in Haiti, that my place was in the United States to try to make the United States safe for democracy in Haiti. Because as long as our president could throw out Haiti's president, nothing was sustainable, and nothing the people, the courageous, persistent, talented activists and lawyers in Haiti did would work. And so it's a mission that's unfortunately not accomplished. But I think that one of the things that we have had a very good success at, both IJDH but also many allies in the United States who realized the same thing after the coup, is we've built up quite a big constituency. There's much better information about Haiti, and people can get good information. There's lots of good organizations, lots of ways for people to get involved. And I'll talk about some of that later on and encourage you to get involved. I'm excited I'm particularly excited about the White Dove Award in ROCLA, because as I looked at the program brochure, it's it's exciting that we actually have quite a bit of connections already with ROCLA people and with White Dove Award winners. When I say we, I mean both the BAI and IJDH, although they're separate organizations, we really do all our work pretty seamlessly together. And one of our allies for a long time has been Interconnect that Peter and Gail Mott organized. And one of the things that Haiti's got has a lot of the same problems as other poor countries in the Americas, but it's got some of its own problems. It's often marginalized by language, by history, by race from some of the other struggles. And one of the things that we've been very grateful that the Motts have done through publicizing our work and the work of other people through Interconnect is to really bring Haiti into the mainstream Latin American solidarity movement and get people who understand about imperialism to understand that Haiti needs their attention too. Bill Quigley, who was the 2011 award winner, he volunteered for us, and as Sarah mentioned, one of our clients was Father Gerard Jean-Just, or Father Jerry, and when Father Jerry got arrested the first time, Bill came down, thinking it would be a quick, come down, American lawyer, get him out of jail. We did get Father Jerry out after 2 months that time, but Bill came down about every month for the next 3 years, and Father Jerry ended up spending a total of about 9 months in jail. But Bill is still working with us, and we're really excited to be with him. That is Graham Russell of Rights Action, who was the 2001 award winner, and they've been, again, like Interconnected, they've got a great mailing list of people involved in other Latin American solidarity struggles, and they provided us some financial aid and also put out our action alerts on their network. Chuck Kaufman of the Nicaragua Network, who was 2008 winner, and we worked with Nicaragua Network on a People's Tribunal for Haiti, and that's actually where I first met Peter and Gail. Jennifer Harbury, who's obviously got her hands full on Guatemala work, but she has taken some time to come to Haiti and do some delegations. School of America's Watch, and Jennifer was the 1995 winner. School SOA Watch won twice, in Eric LeCompte in 2002 and Roy Bourgeois in 2009. And they've been doing a little bit of work integrating us into the SOAW vigils. More recently, they stepped up their involvement in Haiti because they see that the UN occupation of Haiti is really one of the major militarization issues in this hemisphere. Roy came down with a delegation in October and has since done, SOAW has done a lot of really good advocacy around that. And Martha Thompson, who was 2003 award winner, she's now with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee in Boston, and we've been collaborating on some joint advocacy projects. And of course, they're all connected with each other and as part of the same struggle for justice. One of the things, the starting points of all our work is that there's anything bad that happens in Haiti, there's a disproportionate burden on Haiti's poor. Now, how many people have seen this photograph or something like it? This is one of the iconic photos of Haiti's earthquake, and it's the National Palace, which collapsed. And they say, nobody knows for sure, but estimates of how many people died in the earthquake were 200 to 300,000. How many of these 200 to 300,000 people do you think died in the National Palace? Can you click? You're close. That's a good guess. 2. And you don't get to 200,000 in groups of 2. You get to 200,000 when places like this, hillside slums collapse and people die by the thousands or more. And there's 2 ways that I like to explain that picture on the right. One goes under the category that if you have a hammer in your hand, every problem looks like a nail. If you have a law degree, every problem looks like a rights violation. But I think this really is. That hillside it was illegal to build there. Most of those houses did not comply with the zoning codes with the building codes that Haiti had. And both the zoning and the building codes in Haiti were and are inadequate. But had they been enforced, that wouldn't have happened. And my estimate is that you probably would have had 10% of the mortality with enforcement of the zoning codes, because that's where the people who died, we heard about the hotel because there were a lot of foreigners, but the way the most people died, it was in the hillside slums that collapsed. It's also, and if you go to those slums, before they collapsed, you knew that they were death traps. I mean, they were steep and very hard to just navigate down on a daily basis. But it was clear that if there was ever a mudslide coming up, it would go right through the community. The houses were falling apart as we spoke because they weren't built good enough. And the reason why people still, even though they were obviously death traps, people moved in there because they had no other choice. And so a second way of explaining what happened was Haiti's desperate poverty. And a confirmation of that is a connection with a comparison with the Chilean earthquake that happened a few weeks later. That was 500 times stronger. And this is a little bit simplistic. I mean, there's a lot that goes on to explain how earthquakes cause damages. But when you've got this great disproportion, it's clear that there's something wrong. And where you had 500 times stronger earthquake in Chile and 230 times more people dead in Haiti. And that's largely explicable by the relative poverty. Chile is certainly not the richest country in the world, but it's not the poorest in the hemisphere like Haiti is. And that difference in lower poverty made the difference between probably 90 to 95% of the, well, in this case much more, so 1% of mortality, or less than 1% of mortality. Get the next one. And coming back to connect my two causes of why the hillside slum fell, lack of the rule of law and lack of and poverty, to connect them, in many ways, Haiti's poor are poor because they can't enforce basic human rights. And I'm sure you've heard these same stories on the streets of San Salvador and Quetzaltenango, San Pedro Sula. People can't enforce contract rights. I hear all the time from market women who worked for years to raise a little bit of money to expand their business. Then they get screwed by a supplier or a customer. They go to a lawyer to try to take that person to court. The lawyer steals all their money, and then they're back to square one. And still poor. Haiti's minimum wage is about $5 a day, but even that isn't always enforced, and that prevents people from earning their way out of poverty. Child support and alimony is almost never enforced in Haiti, and that condemns women and children to repeat the cycle of poverty. And the right to education is obviously key. Over half of Haiti's primary school-age kids don't go to school, and that really prevents them from getting the education they need to escape poverty. As I mentioned before, a lot of the roots of Haiti's poverty and the lack of rule of law stretch out this way, and I'll just talk to 4 of them. One, the country that talked about in 1776 about all men being created equal, we meant the men part. We didn't mean the all part as much, because when Haiti came around and Haiti's independence came, we could not recognize Haiti's independence because we could not recognize that a large percentage of our population was held in slavery. And so we refused recognition of Haiti until just after the Emancipation Proclamation. Development assistance is actually one of the causes of Haiti's misery, and that seems surprising, but there's actually, study after study has concluded that there's a direct relationship between food aid and hunger. So direct relationship. So the more food aid, the more hunger. And the basic mechanism that happens is we really give food aid as a country because we've got to get rid of the massive overproduction of basic commodities that are the result of our skewed subsidies. And so our food aid project is really to get rid of that food. And we get rid of it by dumping it on the market at low or for nothing or low prices. And that gets dumped at the time that Haitian farmers need to sell their crops. They can't sell their crops. They go out of business, they're off the farm, they move to the cities, up on those hillsides where that crumble when an earthquake hits. Another root of Haiti's problem is the 2004 coup d'etat, which I mentioned before. And leading up to that, we actually imposed a 4-year development assistance embargo where we said no U.S. aid to the Haitian government, and we're not going to let anybody else give it too. And we stopped loans from the World Bank, from the Inter-American Development Bank. We pressured other countries not to give money to the Haitian government. And I call them smart sanctions because they're very carefully prepared to bring the government to its knees and punish Haiti's poor without having any collateral damage to Haiti's wealthy class, who still did very well throughout this time. And of course, the ultimate result of that was the departure of Haiti's government and its replacement by a man who'd been living in Boca Raton, Florida. Trade policy, can you go back just one second? The arrow button, the left arrow button. Well, there was one more quote that it was from Bill Clinton saying, okay, there it is. And it was very courageous from President Clinton to get up in front of Congress and say that yes, I helped cause hunger in Haiti by my policies. And of course, those policies were justified by, oh, we're helping Haiti by opening up its markets, but we're opening up Haiti's markets to subsidize U.S. rice and putting rice farmers out of business. Okay, now we go to the next one. A more recent root of Haiti's problem, there was elections in Haiti that there was first round in November of 2010 and then the second in March, and they were for the whole House of Representatives, a third of the Senate, and President. And the governing party, which was very pro-U.S., they worked very hard to keep several parties out, including Femi Lavalas, which is a party that has won every Haitian election that's ever been involved. By a landslide. There's always been a dispute, but it's been a dispute over the extent of the landslide. No one could ever seriously doubt the existence of it. And the Lavalas party has espoused very dangerous positions like providing more health care, building schools, and other subversive policies in a world where smaller government has become almost theological. And that wasn't tolerated, so the Obama administration, the Bush administration kidnapped the Lavalas president and sent him to Central African Republic. The Obama administration did do better, but was perfectly happy to help the Haitian government keep Lavalas from running in the elections in 2010. And we actually financed them, our tax dollars financed half of the $30 million cost of those elections. We never once spoke out publicly as a government urging that the Haitian government make them more inclusive. But there were people that did speak out. On the Republican side, Senator Richard Lugar talked about how that this could potentially being exclusive of the elections could plug the country into chaos. On the Democratic side, 45 members of the U.S. House wrote to Secretary Clinton saying that the elections will come back to haunt the international community. And they were unfortunately all right. Their elections, as that picture showed, were a horror show in November. The State Department, in response to that, they kind of abandoned the then president, the party of President Préval, and which they had been supporting, and they said, oh no, these elections are flawed, but instead of going over and redoing the elections, we're going to basically anoint Haiti's president. And where they could not pressure the government to include all the parties on the ballot, because that would be interfering. They instead pressured the government to reverse the second and third places of the first round. And they literally said that. They said to the Electoral Council, if you don't switch number 3 and number 2 was the government party, if you don't switch number 3 and number 2, we're going to revoke the visas of everybody involved, and we're going to stop all support to the Haitian government. And of course that worked. There was no statistical justification for making that switch, but there was, people wanted to have visas to be able to get to the United States. And so they switched it. The number 3 person got to be number 2. He's now president, and we're certainly, it's coming back to haunt the international community. Even worse, it's coming back to haunt the Haitian people, because he's an extremely conservative person with a lot of ties to the Duvalier dictatorship. Actually, Nicolas Duvalier, Jean-Claude Duvalier's son, is an advisor. 4 of his principal ministers are sons of Duvalier, top Duvalier officials, and President Martelly was also very supportive of the 1991 to 1994 coup d'état. His reign so far has been very difficult. His major policy effort is to try to reinstate Haiti's army. He has, of the 9 months of his term, he's only had a prime minister for 4 of them, and the most recent one resigned on Friday. And he spent most of his time fighting with Parliament rather than moving forward the programs that are necessary for a better day for Haiti's people. And he's also got a bunch of thugs on the street that are out doing some this picture was taken as when Marjorie was at number 3, he wanted to be moved up to number 2. It was sort of a two-sided. So Secretary Clinton came in from the U.S. and told them they had to do it. Marjorie put his people out in the streets and shut down the Capitol for a week, breaking windows and beating people up and otherwise explaining why he should be participating in the democratic process. Talk a little bit about one of our cases in Haiti, which may be it's either the only country or one of the only countries in the hemisphere to have never had a cholera outbreak, and up until October of 2010. And at that time, there was some peacekeepers from MINUSTA, the UN peacekeeping mission, and MINUSTA is a peacekeeping mission. It's 1 in 10 peacekeepers in the world are in Haiti, and Haiti has not had a war in my lifetime. But 1 in 10 peacekeepers are there. They spend about $800 million a year, and they could not spend some of that on testing and treating soldiers who were deployed from an area where there's a cholera epidemic. They were sent to Haiti, and they were sent to a base which leaked sewage into Haiti's largest river system in 2 places, and the outbreak kept going at the base. The river got polluted. It hit Haiti, went down to this is the Artibonite Valley, which is Haiti's main rice-producing region. It got into all the canals there. All the workers drank it. A lot of the migratory work, a lot of the people down there were migratory workers. They ran to their homes in the mountains because the UN was denying they had anything to do with it, and everybody's saying, oh, we don't know what this is. So they panicked. They went home, bringing cholera with them, and pretty soon you had cholera throughout Haiti. So far, there's been a little bit over 7,000 people killed officially. Most people think that it's probably, the real number is probably double that or more. 500,000 people infected, probably officially, probably at least double that unofficially. The UN's response, the UN has done some medical facilities, but has not done the clean water that is necessary to stop a cholera epidemic, and has not taken responsibility. We, as lawyers, we have the hammer in our hand, and a lot of people said when the outbreak happened that this was such an obvious case of negligence that someone should sue the UN. And we said, no, it's so obvious the UN's going to recognize their culpability, and they'll respond fairly. The outbreak happened in October. Last May, the UN put out a report. They commissioned this special expert team to investigate, and they reported, as everybody knew, that the UN introduced cholera to Haiti. But the UN said, oh no, but we're not legally responsible because other things, they called it a confluence of factors, like the fact that Haiti's health and sanitation and water systems were very poor. That's what really caused the epidemic. We just put the stuff into Haiti. And that was so totally absurd that you would only do that if you felt that you would never be held accountability for your statements. Just like you would never dump sewage from people with a cholera epidemic into a river system unless you felt that there was no accountability. And that's really what happened. The UN just doesn't have accountability, and so we said someone's got to step up and try to hold the UN to this. So we filed a lawsuit. The UN has an immunity agreement with the Haitian government, so right now we can't file in the Haitian court, but we filed with the UN, and our complaint says that, look, if you don't give us a fair hearing, we're going to go to a domestic court and say that the immunity provision should be voided because you're not holding up your end of the bargain by giving a fair outlet. Our response, we filed that in November. Our response so far has just been a 3-sentence letter saying, yeah, we got your complaint, we're looking at it, we'll get back to you. But I'm actually pretty excited. I think we have we've got some possible successes to point to. We had in January the UN. Well, first of all, it's made a lot of press hits. We did a Google News search of the case a couple days after we announced it, and there were over 400 articles, and that included every major Anglophone news. We were on Al Jazeera, BBC, CNN, Canadian Broadcasting, NPR, all three networks. Fox didn't pick us up. MSNBC did, and we've managed to keep this very high on the profile list. Just 2 weeks ago, the Security Council went to Haiti, and we were able to get it. Almost all the main articles about ahead of their visit in both the Haitian press and the Anglophone wire services all mentioned our press release or the cholera case. When the UN, 2 places the UN went to, they were confronted with some demonstrations organized by the BAI. When the Haitian press started, they were allowed to ask questions. That was the questions they asked were all about cholera. When Haiti's parliament, when the Security Council met with Haiti's parliament, they got an earful about cholera. And I just saw last night, Susan Rice, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, was kind of the head of that delegation, and she said in her statements that there needs to be accountability for cholera. So that's a pretty big victory. And just last January, several UN entities, including the World Health Organization and the UNICEF and the Pan American Health Organization, they did what they call the call to action. They had a big press conference. They said, hey, look, the only way of stopping cholera is to put in clean water, which is exactly what we've been saying in our complaint, and which is what everybody had known in the 15 months at the time since the epidemic. And we think it was only because of our lawsuit that the UN is actually moving forward. And the problem that with the call to action, they said, well, we need to do this, but we don't have the money for it. Our recommendation, we raised our hand and said, we've got an idea, is to cut down MINUSTA. MINUSTA costs $800 million. Clean water for all of Haiti would cost somewhere between $750 and $1.2 billion. So you just end MINUSTA's. MINUSTA's been there for 7 years now, and again, no more in my lifetime. You start cutting down, drawing down that mission, and pretty soon you can save $800 million to $1 billion. Another case we're working on is the Jean-Claude Duvalier case. Jean-Claude was the second half of the Papa Doc, Baby Doc tandem, had hereditary dictatorship. He was in exile for 25 years. He just came back again in January of 2011. Where this approaches roots outside of the U.S., outside of Haiti, France harbored Duvalier for 25 years, never prosecuted him. The U.S. supported Duvalier during his regime. Sometimes we made some noise about his human rights record, but he would always say, "Well, then I won't vote against Cuba in the OAS." And they'd say, "Okay, we're sorry, we won't talk about your human rights record because we need you to talk about Castro's human rights record." And so it was really because of that we kept Duvalier in power and rich. We arranged for all these loans that he got. And I looked at the financial files, and he was cashing checks that were supposed to be for water projects and using them for spending sprees in New York, fur coats and things like that, and death squads. Unfortunately, and this is, I think, much to our country's shame, is our country has not supported the Duvalier prosecution. And it's pretty, the working assumption by people on the ground in Haiti working on the case is that the U.S. does not want this to happen. And I've tried, it's so bad that members of Congress that put out press releases as soon as Duvalier came back about how he needs to be justice, they say we're not even going to go to the State Department because there's no way that position is going to change. So our country, and we have a special, we have an Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights, Democracy, and Labor, Michael Posner, who's founded Human Rights First, which used to be Lawyers Committee for Human Rights, long career in human rights. Harold Coe, long career in human rights. He's the State Department legal counsel. Stephen Rapp, who made a career out of chasing people like Duvalier in Africa. None of those people have spoken out against this. And I'm sure all three would like to, but our support for Duvalier is so strong that no one in the government is allowed to speak out in favor of his prosecution. So lots of problems in Haiti, and some of them have roots here. And so what's the solution? The solution is superheroes. It's people who can call their member of Congress, people who can write emails, people who can organize, send out newsletters, people who can go to demonstrations. More people can write to their members of Congress. You just keep clicking, keep clicking. And the other solution is what you see when you look in the mirror. And I think that is really what we need to do. I think maybe I'm naive, but I don't think that the U.S. people, that our basic values include supporting people like Duvalier and dumping food to make Haitians more hungry. And so I really think that Haiti's solution is, one of the main solutions to Haiti's problem is people like all of us getting engaged and helping to make that difference.
And as my mom says, son, you'll be prosperous. Enough food for me means there's enough food for us.
Hey yo, what does your mom say?
Begwe will be prosperous. Enough food for me means there's enough food for all of us.